So now he jams. And this is where I think practicing equities and practicing outs and odds and like these basic things comes really handy. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing fine. Today I want to share something that has been coming up quite a lot over the last couple of weeks, and I haven't been producing a lot of videos since I was focusing mainly on Scoop and the Poker Masters. Scoop has been running quite good. Had a lot of deep runs. Of course, the highlight, the deep run in the 10K main event where I played a very, very interesting, I would say this is probably one of the most interesting hands I've played so far. I'm probably going to do a breakdown on that hand as well. Remember guys, the King 7 suited hand where I flopped the flush. I think I could have played it better, and I've been running some analysis on this hand also, whether it's a pre-flop defend or not, but this is going to be part of a different video. So over the last couple of weeks and years, I think one of the most common question is, hey, how do I study poker? What spots should I focusing on? How can I improve my game? And in this video, I want to share a little guideline on what you should be focusing on, or what I think are the key spots that you need to focus on in order to improve your game. Because man, it's so crazy when I see players that play average buy in $10-20 and they talk about balancing ranges and crazy check raise river spots and all these spots that have very little EV on in terms of improving your game. And I'm just so mind-blowing because I don't even focus on these spots. And yeah, I'm going to share in this video my advice on how you can improve your game, what spots you should be focusing on. And this is more tailored towards beginners. I mean, not pure beginners. So if you already play low stakes, micro stakes, you understand the rules, you understand some basic principles. You're not, I mean, if you're here for gambling, just for fun, this channel, at least for the educational purpose of this channel, is probably nothing for you. But if you're serious about making money in poker and improving your game, then this video is going to be helping you. And if you do enjoy it, I would highly appreciate, the entire Raise Your Edge team would appreciate if you give it a thumbs up, you subscribe, and you follow us so you're not going to miss out on any more content. Really helps growing the channel. All right, let's jump right into it. And I have 4, 5, 6 points prepared that I would say are mandatory to study, and also worth checking over and over again to refresh your game. Again, if you already play mid stakes and high stakes, some of the points are also very important, of course, but this is really where I sit down. Okay, if I would start poker today, what would I focus on? What are the spots that I think are the most important areas that are mandatory to study and worth your time to increase your win rate? All right, let's start with the first one, which is pot odds, outs, and equities. And what do I mean by that? I'm gonna share something with you guys. And of course, I also try to share stuff with you that you can study for free, because one of the most common excuses is I don't have the money for a course, and that's fine. That has always been my mission, that I share something that you don't need to spend any money on, and if you're smart about what I'm saying, that you can use it and you're not paying a dime and you can improve your game. So here we have a common example for pot odds and outs and equities. So this is a wallpaper we have in our Discord. If you are in our Discord and you want to have access to this wallpaper, I can share that with you. So for example, we have certain commands. If you're in our Discord, you can just type in wallpaper, and then you get this wallpaper from our Discord. You can join there for free. You can take a screenshot here. You don't need to be a a computer wizard like kim.com in order to figure that out. But here's some very basic stuff that you need to know. So for example, if we face a pot size bet, you need to be good 33% of the time. I'm also going to show you how you can practice that in order to manifest that knowledge. This is for understanding which bet sizing you want to be using in order to make a profit with bluffing, let's say. So if you bet pot size, your opponent needs to fold 50% of the time, right? If you bet 1/4 pot, it only needs to work 20% of the time. This is something that I've been always emphasizing on when it comes to betting the river. What are you trying to accomplish? If you just want to attack some really weak holdings, queen highs, king highs, ace highs, a small bet is totally fine, and you only need 20% fold equity or 33% of the time. If you bet twice of the pot, it needs to work 66% of the time, right? So your opponent has to fold at least 2/3 of his range. So understanding these numbers, I mean, guys, also keep in mind, this is not going to be an entire course here. I won't be able to teach you poker. I can just push you a little bit in the right direction and tell you, okay, this is something you need to know. This is mandatory in order to win in poker. These are key numbers. And you don't need to know every number by heart, but understanding, or at least have an idea, okay, if I bet around, or if I face a bet around 2/3 of the pot, it was somewhere around 30% equity. But I think you can also use some rule of thumb. So if someone bets half of the pot, let's say he bets 50 in 1 to 100, right? The pot, you need to win, like, if he bets 50 to 100, if you call, the pot is that you're going to win in total is 200, and you invest 50. So you need to be good 1/4 of the time. If someone bets pot size, if someone bets 100 into 100, you have to call 100. The pot is going to be 300, and your investment is going to be 100. So you need to win 33% of the time. These are some very easy rule of thumb. So at least 1/2 pot size, you can always with that little rule of thumb that I was just sharing, you don't need to know it by heart. This is always like a small bridge that helps you to remember those numbers. So this is mandatory. You see the equities, you see the pot odds, and this is something you need to know. Then let's go ahead and what you should be focusing on next. Very basic: open raising, calling versus 3-bets, and cold calling. Also here, with Raise Your Edge, if you sign up on our website, you get some ranges for free. Of course, you won't get ranges for every single stack size. Again, this is just something to push you in the right direction. If you want to work on your pre-flop game, you can also sign up with Raise Your Edge. We provide you with some free ranges. Again, we cannot give you ranges for every single stack size. Of course, this is just a start, so you have something you can work with. And if you sign up, you get access to some open raising ranges. You get access to some Shortstack ranges where for pushing. Again, it's for free, something to push you in the right direction. Also with paired, if you sign up, you also get some free ranges. We can look into it. So you also are going to have a free range viewer here for 60 big blinds, open raising from several positions. So it gives you a very good guideline on what hands to play from all of these positions. And and I think this is something that even on high stakes, I feel like a lot of players totally neglect solid pre-flop fundamentals, and especially for low stakes, it's totally sufficient to just play good hands, even play tighter than the ranges we suggest, and then most of the time you're not going to end up having trash hands, and you don't know what to do with those very, very bad hands. And the way I would advise to study it when it comes to open raising or flat calling is I would take, let's say, early position, middle position, and I'm going to be focusing on that for a week. When I start my session, I only look, okay, what are the hands I'm supposed to playing from early position, middle position, and then you try to be very aware in game what kind of hands to play and try to remember what are the ranges we want to be playing from those positions. And after a week or maybe 2 weeks, depends on how comfortable you feel, you move on to the next one. You start with middle position and the blinds, and if you feel comfortable, you move on. And this is how you have to study. I mean, poker is so complex. You have to bring simplicity and clarity into your study behaviors. Otherwise, you just end up confusing yourself. We have so many students joining our Tournament Masterclass, and yes, it's a very in-depth course, and I see they get very frustrated in the beginning because they see all the lectures and they don't really know where to start. It's like, just start with Preflop, take your time. It's like learning a new skill, and it takes some time. And if you wanna, or if you study, right, very often we study for 3 or 4 years until we are very profound with something. And same in poker. I mean, it doesn't necessarily take a year, but it's gonna take some months until you have built some very solid fundamentals and you're gonna be able to make money on these stakes. And then you do the same for 3-betting, cold calling, but it's very important to only focus on 1 or 2 spots. And one of the best advice I can give you, it's probably the most boring advice, is you compete with a bunch of fun players, especially on low stakes and even on mid stakes. So playing good hands is going to already give you a good edge on the field, and you don't necessarily need to play perfect ranges. Tight is right. If you only open 10-11% from under the gun, if you play 20% from middle position, if you only open 25-30% from cutoff, if you only open 30%-40% from the button, that's totally fine. I'm also explicitly not mentioning 3-betting here because I do believe on the micro stakes and low stakes, you don't need to have balanced 3-bet ranges. If you have a good hand to 3-bet with, you 3-bet. Right? Ace, king, ace, queen, jacks, and tens. You don't need to have bluff 3-bets. You don't need to bluff 3-bet suited connectors. It only makes sense against opponents. Let's say if you 3-bet your 9-8 suited and your opponent is capable of folding king 8 suited. This is where the EV comes from, that you fold out better hands and you still have a decent playability. But if your opponents cannot let go of Jack 10 off and 10 9 off because it's connected and they want to see a flop, you end up losing a lot of money. So instead, flat call those hands, try to hit a hand, and if you have a strong hand, then you go ahead and 3-bet, right? And I'm also gonna now, when we jump into the third point, equity training, gonna share an example how I approach these very marginal preflop spots. So I have a very tricky situation here with pocket jacks, and what I'm doing here is I'm not even looking into a solver tool. What I do is when I have the decision here to make, or when I want to analyze whether I have a call or fold against his all in here with my pocket jacks, I take a tool such as Power Equilab, and you can get it for free from Poker Strategy. A Power Equilab is a little bit more advanced. It costs some money. It has some advanced features, but just the Equilab tool itself, where you can calculate equities, it's a necessity. Again, it's for free. So what are we going to do here? We give ourselves jacks, and then we put our opponent on a range. I was assuming that aces he would sometimes slow play and 4-bet non all in. Kings, I think, can be doing both. More often I assume he's going to be jamming. He's going to be jamming his ace kings. He's going to be jamming his queens. He's going to be jamming his jacks. Tens very, very rarely. And yeah, you see we have 42.77% equity. And if you have a tracking tool like Hold'em Manager or Poker Tracker or Hand to Note, you get to see that we need 41.2%. Am I going to be now debating and reaching out to others, or should I be calling here? No, I see it's marginal, and I don't want to take a 0 point something big blind spot here for effectively 50 big blinds. It's too marginal. So I already realized that in game that this is not a spot I want to get involved to, but it's a clear value raise preflop. So what you need to be able to learn is, just because you re-raise tens or ace queen or jacks preflop doesn't always mean you have to go broke, right? What we target is we want to get value from tens, nines, eights, ace jack, ace 10 suited. We want to make him fold king queen off type of hands. So, but then when he re-raises us, it's very likely he's going to have a better hand, and then we just fold. So this pure, straightforward approach of, all right, I raise, If he re-raises, do I still beat something? If that's not the case, we fold. And still being able to letting go of good hands. This is not something a solver tool is going to be teaching you, because a solver tool is probably also going to include some ace-5 suiteds here that he's supposed to be 4-bit jamming. So we always have to call jacks here, but this is not going to happen in reality. So use your own experience, use some basic principles in poker, and not try to be balanced here and think, oh, you're going to be exploited if you squeeze 4 jacks. That's just bullshit. Try to focus on the outcome, and the outcome of the result is that jacks would be slightly winning. But again, we are making assumptions here. So if he plays, if he's never jamming 10s, you see it's immediately minus EV, and it's not unrealistic to assume that he's never going to be jamming jacks 10s here. I think for almost 60 bigs, he's just calling it. So that's why I'm trying to avoid these margin spots. Even if I have ace king, let's say he 4-bits to 20 big blinds, I just call. I'm like, all right, he could be on ace kings, he could be fucking around with ace 5 or ace jack off. Let's take a flop. Let's see if we have hit an ace or king. When I'm not sure whether I can stack off pre-flop, I just call, or I make a tight fold. But of course, if you have a read on someone, if I know this is like a punty rack or a crazy maniac fish, then I'm never gonna go fold as well. And this is one of the main tools I'm studying with. I have a spot, I put in the range that I think they're playing. This also strengthens my exploitative approach, and this also really helps me understanding equities and pot odds. If you don't have a tool, then you have to calculate it manually. You have to pay 50 big blinds for a pot of 70 big blinds. So in total, you're going to invest 50 big blinds to win 120 big blinds. So you see the odds are not that great. So you need to have around 40, 41, 42% equity at least. All right, let's move on to another spot where we can practice our understanding of equities. So we open king 10 off, pretty standard. We see bet the flop. I think against the small blind range here on this board where we have a lot of overpairs, we want to start using bigger sizings, half pot, 3/4 pot, pot size. I think we can mix a lot of different sizings here, especially with the backdoor 2 overcards. I don't want to give him a prize to float his like king, jack, and hearts without backdoor flush draw, but we do block also a lot of his backdoor combinations. So I want to get him to fold immediately something like king, jack, king, queen without backdoor flush draws. He calls. I think the turn is a pretty good card to second barrel. A lot of our bluffs improve if we have something like ace 7, ace 9, ace 6 with backdoor flush draw, or with backdoor straight draw. So of course this is also a turn where he's going to have a lot of flushes. But a lot of the suited stuff he's 3-betting pre-flop. So you see if he has like jack 10 or queen 10 in clubs, very often it's going to be 3-betting pre-flop. If he has something like king 9, king 7 in clubs, he's very going to be 3-betting pre-flop. So, and we have all of them. So I think even though usually suited turns or flush cards on turn are good for the out of position player, but here it's specifically against the small blind, I think it's a little bit better for us. Bet around half pot again. I mean, I don't want to get too big. He still has a decent amount of flushes. He can still have a few boats, but overall we should have we still have 5s, 8s, ace 8 flushes. Even our bluffs with one club. I think we can even bet a little bigger here. The turn is the queen and clubs, clear value bet, and now we basically play a toy game, right? We say we either have it or not. So if we have something like completely out of line, like 6-7 in spades, right? We have 6-7 in spades, 9-6 in spades. These are the hands I would be bluffing. 6-4 in spades or 6-4 in heart, just pure gutters, which I know, okay, if there's a fourth club, I'm going to be bluffing those hands. So now he jams. And this is where I think practicing equities and practicing outs and odds and like these basic things comes really handy. So again, I take power equilab, I put in the board, I give myself king 10 of clubs, and then I try to give him a range, what I think is realistic. So assuming he's not raising on the flop or turn with his boats, he has 5s, he has 8s, he has ace 5 suited. And then what are these bluffs? I mean, if he has ace 8, proto, he is a high stakes cash game player, I assume he's capable of bluffing with ace 8. He's probably also capable of bluffing with something like ace 9, where he blocks our aces and ace 5. Maybe something like ace-7 or ace-4, but only the diamond combos. So if he has ace-7 and diamonds on this flop, I'm pretty sure he's going to be calling. If he has ace-9 and diamonds, I'm pretty sure he's calling. And you see, he only has basically 6 value combos. 6 value combos. So the moment he has, let's even take out only 3 bluffs, we basically have a break-even call, right? Only 3 bluffs. And also keep in mind, he might be, he's never value raising a jack in clubs, so this should be pretty obvious. He might also be raising something like ace-5 on the flop. He might be raising pocket 8s on the flop already, especially on a drawy board when we're going to be calling all our over pairs and flush draws. We're quite deep. So I would assume that he might not even have all of the pocket 8s combos, right? Let's say he sometimes raises them, or even a 5x like ace-5. Then you see we have a call, right? I mean, we have 7, 8, or 8% more than we need. And this is where these fundamentals come really into place, where understanding how little combination someone can have, right? Knowing that on this board, he can only have 3 combos of 8s. He can only have 1 combo of pocket 5s. He can only have 2 combos of ace. Oh, actually, no, he can have ace in hearts and ace in spades. So you can have two combos of ace-5 suited, right? So, of course, when you play against a very, very nitty player, I know he's never going to be raising his ace-8. He's never going to be bluffing then we have a fold, because you're always going to have a full house. But since we assume we play against someone better, then you put it in and you evaluate your equity, and then you see you have to call here, right? And this is not even assuming that he does it with a random 9-8 in hearts, right? He calls twice because he has queen 8 in hearts here, and we always have to assume a little bit of randomness. I mean, I'm not even considering that in that sim here, but if, let's say, you put in a realistic range and you already get a decent call, then you should also make the call, because it's human beings. He might do something that is completely out of line. I mean, the river play is fine, but I think on the turn it's just a clear fold against the second barrel. Even against my bluffs, let's say, I always triple barrel this combo, right? Does he really want to call with a pure 8 here? So it's going to be hard for him to realize his equity. So even though he might be ahead decent amount of the time, if I have a good hand here, I still have all the flushes. I can value bet my strong ace-x. I still have boats and trips. So I think it's going to be very hard for him to realize his equity. And also, maybe he has something like 6-5 in hearts that he didn't 3-bet and doesn't want to raise on the flop. And now he blocks ace-5, he blocks pocket 5s, and decides to raise, right? So maybe some of these combos could also be in his range. So there's actually so much potential for bluffing. Like, it's not that he can have 50 or 60 combos, but it's possible he can choose from 10, 15, 20 combos that he can bluff with, and he only needs 3. This is always an indicator, right? This is probably a good spot to bluff catch. But on the other side, he only has 5 value combos or 6 value combos. So equity training, very important for pre-flop and for post-flop, putting in the board. It also helps you practicing your understanding. And if I don't really know what my opponent is up to, join our Discord, join whatever forum or wherever you can join, and post the hand and ask, what do you guys think? And always share your feedback first. Like, hey guys, I think they would be playing it like that. Do you agree? What do you think? How are you going to be approaching the spot? By doing that, you help, or you gain more input. You gain a much more reliable source of information, because the more people that give input, because it's also very experience based or almost biased spot. Some players have never seen a bluff here. Some players, I've seen the craziest bluffs here. So I will never fold my king and clubs here, because I know how little combinations someone can have here. And the best way, if you want to prove your game, practicing equities, considering the outs and odds. And this is something I wouldn't try to learn by heart, but by doing that, you see, it's like math. At some point, you will get better, and you get a better feeling. Your decisions will be more often on point, and don't be too hard on yourself. You're gonna do mistakes, and you're gonna overestimate your equity, and you're also sometimes gonna underestimate your equity. The next spot that should be your agenda for studying is Shortstack, pushing, calling, reshoving. When you sign up, you get 8 big blinds and 12 big blind shoving ranges for positions with Razor Edge. Also something, so you're not completely in the dark, something you can study with. With those ranges, you can also study your calling ranges. So if you're in the big blind and you face a 12 big blind hijack jamming range, you can see, okay, according to Nash, according to the Razor Edge ranges, what is he supposed to jam? Is it realistic? What am I supposed to call? And this way you can start building up your short stack fundamentals. So I like to use IC Miser for that. Very common spot here. Big blind has 10 big blinds. We have 30 big blinds, and I just copy pasted the hand here, and you get to see what you can shove. Very simple, very straightforward. Do you need to spend money? Yes, you can, but you don't need to. IC Miser, Hold'em Research Calculator, they have a free either a free trial period or even 3, 4, 5 hands you can analyze every day. And again, if you take it more serious, I think spending a little bit of money for that is definitely a good investment. I mean, just consider how much money we spend on bullshit. This is going to be a good investment. But even if you don't have any money, for whatever reason, you can't spare it, there's going to be a way here. Even join a Discord and ask, hey, I have 2, 3 hands, if you're someone that is very proactive about something, you will find a solution, right? If you're someone that also helps others in forums and Discord, and you share your feedback on others and you try to help, and then you have a request like, hey, here I have 2, 3 hands and I can't afford IC Miser at the moment. Can someone plug it in for me and show me what I'm supposed to call a push here? Pretty sure someone is going to help you out. If there's a will, there's also going to be a way. So essentially, you can also study these spots for free. I mean, it takes a little bit more of a hustle and probably a bit more time to get the results. But of course, that's the sweet benefit of spending money, that it takes less time to get the results. So yeah, either IC Miser. We also have a discount code. If you decide to sign up with IC Miser, we put it in the description, and you get a very sweet discount for IC Miser if you sign up with our Razor Edge link for IC Miser. Watching live plays, I think this is always something that is all right to do, but you should always watch it with a purpose. My rule of thumb is always, if I watch it for 30 minutes, I want to have 3 takeaways. If for whatever reason there is not really anything to take away, maybe you should consider consuming different content. I mean, you should not consume it, you should study it, you should try to understand it. So whenever you watch a streamer or you watch a poker player on YouTube, try to have that rule after 30 minutes. Okay, what did I learn in those 30 minutes? Sometimes, of course, I understand, given the action, there might not be so much to learn, or just very repetitive what you already know, then that's all right. But if it's occurring over and over again that you watch but you don't really learn anything, man, you shouldn't be watching it for entertainment. I mean, you can do that, but if you study for study purposes, you should really watch something where every 30 minutes there's something that broadens your mind. And if you watch a live play of mine and you can't really learn anything, then don't watch my content. I mean, could be totally the case that you don't learn anything from my content. And that's totally all right. Sometimes you don't resonate with everyone, and you might not like me, or what I'm teaching you already know. That's totally fine. Then try to find someone else that you can resonate better with and try to learn from their content. But I think whether it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, you should set yourself some sort of time frame, right? In those 30 minutes, 3 takeaways, and not just something be like, oh, I can be more aggressive from the button. No, for 40 big blinds, I should be 3-betting more big blind versus late position opens, hands like King 9 suited, hands like Ace 9 off, hands like King 7 suited. Also specific hands, be very specific so you know what to do. I do that until today. If I even have review sessions with other poker players, I'm always writing some takeaways afterwards. This is a necessity. Otherwise, in 3 days, it's going to be gone and you wasted your time. By doing that, you actually need to spend less time, or you can spend less time on watching content, and you're going to be learning much faster. Last but not least, this is not necessarily a topic you should be spending on, but I'm mind blown how many people are still trying this on their own. I think Pat's on his Twitter recently made a post, the key essentials for becoming successful in poker. Maybe I can find it somewhere. This is some very, very good stuff, and he also recommended that just surrounding yourself with positive people that share a similar vision and can support each other. Let me see if I can find it. I tried to put a link in the description. Here it is. So he's basically sharing 4 key ingredients for becoming successful. And in his article or blog article, he's also pointing out remove negativity, which comes in hand with trying to remove the people from your life that are negative, and it's very, very important, and I can't emphasize it on enough. We have a large Discord community, or if you join someone else, engage in daily poker strategy talks, post hands, share your feedback, be positive, and by doing so you will attract the people that you need in your life, because they see, oh wow, this motherfucker is very serious about poker. Let's reach out to him and maybe study together or whatever. That's the best way. And as you see, very, very basic stuff, especially on low stakes, mid stakes. Don't focus on bluff barreling. Don't focus on having balanced ranges. That's just waste of time for your stakes, because you only have a limited amount of time. Then of course, if you move up, you can be focusing on c-betting, using different sizings. My tip for c-betting on low stakes and micro stakes is, if you have a good hand, you bet 2/3 pot. If you have a draw, if you have a bluff, you just bet 1/3 pot. Period. That's gonna be the superior strategy in almost every single spot. You don't need to complicate. Most players are just so brainwashed. If you read the comments, if you read strategy advice from many players, it's just absolutely horrible. And I'm not saying it's wrong, but there's a better way. Like most of the stuff, it's theoretically correct, but unfortunately it does not apply in practice. All right, so make sure you play a very exploitative. I mean, you can study PIO, you can study GTO. It helps you to understand poker. Don't get me wrong, but the problem is that most players have a problem with connecting the dots. They have problems with adjusting from GTO and actually play exploitative, because it's so comfortable to rely on GTO, because GTO tells you what to do, and then you just try to follow it blindly and you actually end up losing money, because a lot of the GTO strategies are not good on low stakes. And poker is no different than fitness or learning a language. You need to do the repetitions. You have to get in some highly focused practicing. Remember the video that I made about why the average person cannot win in poker. I'm basically pointing out that focus practice, cutting out distractions, cutting out these dopamine releasing pleasurable activities that decrease your ability to focus, decrease your ability to concentrate. That's essential as a poker player. You need to be able to focus for many, many hours. Also, when you study, it's a very complex theoretical game when it comes to the studying. So you need to be able to at least focus for 20, 30, 40 minutes. And I know it's a challenge. With all the social media and all the distractions going on, information overload, but this is your responsibility to pay attention to that. I made a video about that. This is something you can study as much as you want. If you don't have that in place, it's going to be very hard for you to become successful. So if you don't have any money to spend in a tracking program like Hold'em Manager or Hand to Note or Poker Tracker, you can also take screenshots of the hand, or you can use Boom Player on PokerStars, request hand histories from other sites. On Party Poker, you have a tool also that allows you to track hands. So also there's an ability. I mean, you need to be able to archive your hands or to mark them, so later on you can go back and analyze them. I mean, should be pretty much self-explaining. My golden tip for beginner, and I've been teaching also poker a little bit to my girlfriend, and she's actually doing quite well on micro stakes. And all I'm telling her is, hey, wait for good hands, play patient. She also studies a little bit our ranges. But essentially, just when you have a good hand, bet big, and she's doing all right. So it's not as complicated as it seems. I think just really, and you don't even need to bluff a lot on micro stakes or low stakes. The good spots to bluff are against other good opponents. So if you consider someone as, okay, he might be regular, he might also try to take it more serious and play according to his strategy or play according to charts, and you find out who are the fun players who just want to gamble their money away and who are the ones that take it serious. Then those who want to take it serious follow a very similar approach of playing good hands, waiting for good spots. Very often these are good targets to bluff, but against fun players, which are most of the time going to be present on low and micro stakes, no need to bluff. When you have a draw, try to play your draws aggressively, bet them. That's okay when you're in position. But if you miss, don't bluff. Try to showdown with weak showdown value hands. Don't try to make fancy bluffs. Don't try to bluff them off top pairs or whatever. Don't try to, this is just a very suicidal adventure. And then I think you're good to go. I mean, there's so much else to study, but I would say pot outs, outs, and equities, open raising, cold calling versus 3-bets, equity training for preflop, postflop, when you have an all-in situation, what hands you can go broke with, short stack, pushing and calling, reshoving, practicing your 10-12 big blind game, and as well, of course, as ICM, running some ICM final table simulations, watching live plays, trying to learn from other poker players, learning new concepts, and then surrounding yourself with like-minded players, joining discords, sharing hands. If you do that on low micro stakes, I promise you, you're going to be fine, and you're going to start making money at some point. I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you in the next video, and good luck at the tables.